Hello, hello. Pardon the background again. I'm at a hotel for Vercel ship, which was yesterday. Big thanks to Vercel for putting on the event. It's always really interesting to see how React and that ecosystem, and especially Vercel, puts on events, especially when coming like right from something like app.js. It's like a very different kind of vibe. Um, so today, Mark, for context, is he just had a kid and he's also suffering from the flu, presumably something tied to the kid as well. So we're going to do a thoughts and prayers out for Mark as he is struggling to survive right now um, over there in Australia. Today it'll just be me. Maybe Zach will jump on from Nativewind UI. We'll see. This just happens to sort of be in a time window where he might be available. But I'm just going to go through a bunch of the recent updates with respect to both Nativewind and Nativewind UI. So first and foremost, we are now part of the Vercel OSS program, like open source software program. They have this thing where they basically give you, I guess, free Vercel or like up to 300 per month credits or something. Being that we're like an open, so this helps like a lot because all our stuff is hosted on Vercel, and so not having to pay for stuff like analytics and middleware, that's been like edge resources or whatever they have. That stuff's really useful for us. So big shout out to Vercel and especially Cap, who's they're like developer relations community resources kind of person. So big fan. Got to meet her yesterday. She's great. Um, so with that, we'll go into the documentation first. I got to talk to Lee Rob from Vercel yesterday, and I sort of asked him, like, I pitched what I'm doing, the approach of sort of make native wind loved by humans, then make LLMs love native wind. Um, and that whole plan that I've gone through before. And he said that that's all like good and that's how he would do it. But the one difference is he said that at Vercel, they make a separation between the docs and education. And so the docs are sort of intended as kind of like if you've ever been to IKEA, they give you that little like instruction manual. So the doc should be this sort of like technical thing and largely meant for LLMs to consume, whereas education is more like human oriented. Because I've struggled a lot with in rewriting the docs for Native Wind, being that there's all manner of different type of user for Native Wind, ones who understand Tailwind, ones who don't, ones who understand React Native, ones who don't, so on and so forth. What's the right way to like word things that it doesn't feel too handholdy. And so I think that this approach makes a lot of sense. So I think as we move forward, you'll start to see more like educational resources, whether that's video or guides, um, separate from like the raw, just like here's what's covered, here's what isn't. And anywhere we can, we're just gonna point directly to the Tailwind docs. That being said, as far as what has actually changed in the documentation since the last video or the last stream, uh, I've restructured and updated the entire getting started section. There have been more updates to the installation docs. So it's a very clear sort of, at least, if you're just doing an Expo project or like a mobile project, React Native project, then you'll go from nothing to the actual code that it says to run. Um, the one thing there that I'm still like cooking on is the most common thing that people get wrong with this stuff is the content array in the Tailwind config. And while that won't be required in version 4 of Tailwind, um, we're not there yet. So for now, we're dealing with it, and it's still very much a thing. When people start projects with Expo, especially if they start it with Expo Router, there is a um, there's like an app folder that we don't currently include in the installation guide. So um, I'm wondering whether we just default to that in the instruction guide, assuming people are using Expo Router based off of how people use Create Expo Stack, like 75% uh, of those installations use Expo Router. Um, so so yeah, well, I'm still like thinking through what the best experience with respect to that would be. Simsar, to answer your question regarding Mark, I addressed it at the beginning. Mark is currently suffering from the flu and just had a kid. So I did think Mark was going to be here. He is not, and I found this out sort of yesterday, which is why the stream is happening now. Because I would have had to have streamed from Vercel ship yesterday, which would have been very inconvenient and kind of noisy. Hopefully he's here with us next time, but I have a bit of other stuff pertaining to the technical end of Nativewind, um, which might not make it such a big deal whether he's here next week. Um, so, like I was saying, oh, and as far as, yeah, I'll clarify like Nativewind v5 stuff in a bit here. I just want to get through this other stuff that I'm covering with respect to the current v4. So I've removed a bunch of unnecessary docs. I'm currently working on the monorepo guide, especially because some people are running into some problems with that. Um, and then I also realized that there's some confusion on guides for individual library authors who are building sort of on top of Nativewind, um, with respect to how to like allow for class name support. So I'm going to collapse all of the guides with respect to styling third-party components into one document. And then there's going to be a section in there for whether you're just sort of like a library author, an individual developer consuming other people's libraries, and you'll just be able to go in there and follow the, relevant instructions to add class name support to your library, whether it's yours personally or one you're consuming. Um, so I'd look out for that in the next like week or two, just the monorepos one and the third party components one. Um, After that, I foresee most of the docs being pretty streamlined, updated over the next following weeks, and this should all be done by like mid-August. But um, I'll have moved on to the LLM stuff before then. So those two will be happening asynchronously. Um, for code side on V4, I've taken the approach of removing everything from Nativewind that isn't Nativewind itself. So the first thing was the website, that's a separate repo now. Um, Additionally, all the example apps are gone. I don't like example apps. I think they're a bad idea, particularly if you have tooling that can just spin up an app very quickly. Um, those templates, those examples, they're just things to get outdated. And I always try to get rid of things that can get outdated, as they serve to confuse and increase the surface area of. Okay, sorry. Hotel Wi-Fi. not the best thing in the world. Hopefully, y'all can still see me. If you can, a comment would be very helpful. Um, so that I know y'all can see me. So version 5. Um, yeah, so obviously the reason for the slowdown for version 5 is that's been largely Mark's project and Mark having okay, great, cool. Thank you for the comment there. Um, so the reason for the slowdown for version 5 is Mark had a kid. This literally happened like a couple weeks ago. He's even off, I think, from Expo for parental leave. Um, and I think it's gonna be it's gonna be a minute before he's like fully back uh in a very real way. So that being said, I really want to make progress on uh version 5, and more specifically, like I want to open a pull request against the main repo so that folks can like track the progress of it, and even contribute to it if you're interested in that. So what we're going to do now is that some of the Nativewind UI stuff that we've been working on is wrapping up, um, which I'll also explain in a second. Um, we're going to shift some of those resources into Nativewind itself, and specifically handling this upgrade. Um, then what we're going to do after that is um, we're going to the reanimated 4 to sort of step in, and that should be available like pretty much very soon. Like that is like inside of the next week or two is what I'm being told. So we'll see from them an announcement. Um, looking particularly for like a stable version. Outside of that, everything else is in Nativewind's hands. So what I'd like to do is over the course of the next uh, week or so, have that PR go up with, at the very least, like a list of all the stuff that we are wanting to do. It's not going to be a definitive list. We'll probably add to it. But the major point being that we're going to have more than just Mark working on this, um, because it's just not moving at the pace that I'd like it to, um, with just him on it, which is understandable. The dude just had a kid. So, um, so yeah, that's on that front. Um, the as far as whether version 5 will have SSR support, I have no idea, dude. I really don't think about that stuff very much. But I can like talk to I can have a discussion with Mark about it and see if that was even like on the docket. But yeah, I have zero clue. So the reason that the Nativewind UI folks can come over from uh, that side to Nativewind itself is because we are wrapping up this companion app, that is a way for you to actually like physically on device feel what the components and templates are like. Um, and that has been in the works for like, God, 2 months now. Um, and it's great. Like it's gonna be out here in like a week or two. So you'll be able to go to the website and actually like view the documentation alongside physical representations of the iOS and Android stuff. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Um, I just wish it didn't take as long as it had. Um, but so now those folks can like focus on other stuff, which is going to be great. There's also been a number of visual enhancements that are still rolling out for Nativewind UI, as far as the website documentation is concerned. And as we dig through like liquid glass support, um, quite a bit actually of the components just work out of the box. So if you're concerned about whether Nativewind UI will support liquid glass, it will. We do have to sort of bridge a bit of a gap, um, and we'll be covering that over the course of the next several months. So that should align pretty well with sort of when liquid glass is slated to sort of become the standard. Um, I'm really excited by the folks who have joined Expo because now I have faith that those things that need support will actually get the support. Um, so yeah. Um, One other thing that I wanted to mention was the resources. If you are building stuff on top of Nativewind, please reach out. We have been featuring all this stuff on the resources page. We really want to get stuff out there that folks are building. There's so much of it, and people are looking for it. So send us the stuff you're building. We'll take a look at it. Maybe we'll include like a featured thing. I kind of want to explore having like an actual video, discussion, maybe like a vlog type thing with people who are building for the stuff. I've been talking to them, just on Twitter and stuff and Discord, and there's a lot of passion around the project. So I wanna I wanna put that front and center increasingly. Um, yeah, so really the big thing with respect to for those watching for version 5 is there's just going to be more people working on it. And with it being more public of an effort, um, I definitely encourage and I'm open to the like I'd love to see some more of the like open source contribution. Like I said, look out for that PR over the next like week or two, as I'm going to be traveling back to finally Los Angeles. I've been away from home for about a month and a half now. So yeah, um, that's that's the bulk of the update. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. I moving forward will be focused on wrapping up the documentation I was talking about, um, sort of structuring it in a meaningful way, and really beginning to focus on LLM consumption of native Wind stuff. Um, at the very least, you should be able to just copy paste. Uh, yeah, like one of the first ways will just be like you'll be able to copy paste the documentation via one button into something like Cursor or ChatGPT and just ask it like, "Hey, use this as a reference. Answer my question." Um, and that'll be sort of the first step. The next steps will be more systemic, and I'd like it to get to a point where if ever you are asking a model to make a React Native application, that pretty definitively 100% of the time, basically, it's suggesting Nativewind. That would be a big win and a huge step in my goal of 500,000 downloads per week. We're currently tracking closer to like 250,000. I think we're at like 225 or something. Um, so yeah, I think that'll be a huge step in the adoption of Nativewind, and and then the separation of the docs as something that serves LLMs versus education being something more so that serves people. If anyone knows someone that you learned Nativewind from, or that you when you think you want to understand something in this ecosystem, also feel free to flag those people. I know some of them. I plan to reach out to them as well. Um, but yeah, so and then as far as the community, like I said, I wanna start to surface more of the work folks are doing. We have some of it on the resource page, and um, if you want to surface some of your stuff or something you feel isn't getting enough light, then shoot it over to either me personally, only Dan's on Twitter, or I guess at Dan Stepanov, or otherwise just directly to the Native Wind Twitter. Also, Discord is available. Side note, how many people? I think we're like very close to like 1,000 people in the Discord, which is kind of insane. Um, yeah, unrelated, but just kind of a cool thing. Um, I forgot to mention also, I will be trying to move away from the turbo repo stuff of Nativewind. I don't like it. I don't like monorepos in general. Um, And so stripping away all of these different parts of Nativewind as a project has sort of been a precursor to moving away from Turbo Repo and any kind of monorepo structure. So um, yeah, if you have an open source project, also definitely apply to Vercel's OSS program. They run it like multiple times a year. Um, I don't have a link to point you to, but if you just I don't know, either ping Vercel or go to Cap's um, Twitter page, um, then you should be able to find it. Um, yeah. And so, without any further questions, that is the update from Nativewind so far. Um, we will catch you next week at the regular time on Wednesday. Hopefully, Mark will join. Um, and if not, someone who will be working on V5 with me now will be there to sort of discuss further progress and how we're thinking about things. So yeah, hope everyone has a great week and we'll catch you soon.